Hi everyone, let's talk about the clarity of thought that is needed to avoid confusion and overwhelm in our daily lives. So, why is clarity so important? And why is the clarity of prioritization and the clarity of purpose so important? So, clarity is this word that can help us navigate through that chaos, right? So, what it does is it helps us stay focused on the big picture so that you can keep up your momentum and not get distracted by things that have the capacity to overwhelm us. So, let me tell you this, there is so little that overwhelms me sometimes, but I always understand that whenever I'm facing a difficult situation, I think of these assumptions and establish a baseline for myself so that I can use it as a springboard to supercharge my momentum. So the first thing is, has this problem been already solved in the past? Has anyone faced this kind of a problem before? And if so, has anybody been able to do something about it? So the second thing is, what is the cost of my inaction? What is the point of overthinking this if I can just simply put some action plan into motion? The next thing is, the more I make easy choices now, life is going to get harder later. How about I make the tough and the difficult choices right now so that I can lay down a path which is easier for me later on? The next important thing I use for my baseline idea is life is meant to be chaotic because uh, even though we want to live in a perfectly civil society, sometimes things happen that are completely out of our control. How can we predict what the other person is going to say or react like, right? So we have to guide our responses based on how we set our values and our baseline system. Okay. Next, there are so many evil stories around the world. There's so much of chaos and confusion and all these cautionary tales that happen, right? But just assuming that life is beautiful, every stranger is not out there to get me, is a valid assumption on which we can start our baseline. The next thing that I think of is I look at nature to give me that clarity of existence. Because if you see these five elements, which stand in their own personal power, which are so amazing, right? The earth, the fire, the water, the air, and the space. What are they telling us? That in this shared space of the universe, they're existing with each other with unconditional trust, freedom, and generosity. So let's take the cues from nature to adopt the clarity that in spite of us having to navigate so many different situations, that we can still stand in our own personal power and be ourselves in the most civil manner possible. Good luck.